Einstein proved that two people in different frames of reference, moving at different speeds or in different gravity, cannot agree on the same exact time because speed and gravity warp time. But here's the loophole. Fact 1: Einstein's special theory of relativity was published on September 26, 1905. Fact 2: Tom Brady was drafted on April 16th, the year 2000. These two facts in 2026 can be said to both be true propositions at the same point in ontological time. These are two different types of time, though. The first one is clock time measured by light and gravity. The second one is two facts that, once they both happen, you don't need a clock to see if they're both true at the same temporal time, because their category is non-temporal. They are both permanently true in a logical sense. So my question is, do you think there's an ontological category of time holding facts together, or is time only true in the relevant way that Einstein proposed? Okay? Now I'm going to go over several hypothetical objections to this view. Not that different people could think about, that I've thought about. They're not really centralized objections, they're just random objections that I've thought about. Objection 1: Is Einstein's view on time objective? Before I actually answer this, I want to think back to Isaac Newton's view on time. So, Isaac Newton's view on time was that the universe was like a big clock, and that everyone experienced time at the same, well, same time or slash reference rate. But this wouldn't really work, and the reason I think that that's why is because I think the way Isaac Newton used reasoning was wrong. I think he used pure reasoning when he didn't have to, when he was specifically talking about physical things that are based and tied to physical observations. So I think that was just a fallacy from Newton. But then taking Albert Einstein's view of time, I think it is objectively true that his view is right, and it's a presupposition that's grounded in space time like light and gravity. And that if that view right there is objectively true, I think there can be other objectively true views, just like my view. Like my view could also be objectively true that there's ontological time where two events can be true at the same exact time, but it's not like a temporal time where, because they're not two events experiencing time. They're two events that are the found not well maybe the foundation for time, or just just a different category of time. But now I think another thing I want to say is you can make an objective standard about Einstein's view, and that how that objective standard, well, is tied to physical things and the interactions in the world. But then when you take that standard and then you start reasoning about the standard, you're not reasoning about how physical things interact necessarily. You're reasoning about the non-physical thing. And to reason about the non-physical thing is to understand physical things. You can use physical examples, but it's not necessarily the same type of scientific observations, but they're observations that you're using in some way, even though they're just a little bit different. And I guess whenever Einstein's view, like, we could think of an example, like two people were doing two things at similar time frames, but to them it felt like it was the same exact time, but it was obviously different times. We could then say, well, it is true that these two people did those things at two different times, and that is an ontological truth that's true basically at the same exact time now, but the way that we use the word time can be used differently. So even Einstein's view and the examples that I showed about Einstein's special theory of relativity and the Tom Brady example can all be applied under the same exact system. I think pure reasoning is true just because I think there is an objective standard to things, and it's actually similar to the world of science. I think in today's world and just in reasoning in other places too, that they overemphasize science and think that science is more reliable just and trustworthy than things like non-material truths, which doesn't fully make sense when they're just should be labeled as different categories. But I think that you can't fully prove anything, but an example would be you have a physical thing which is A, then you have B, and then that can lead to C. So it's still a chain. There's a chain that would lead through all those things, and you notice a sequence of patterns that's here. And every single person, no matter who they are, who wanted to prove things, started with thought experiments or other things, and then they just started proving these things using logic and reasoning to understand that. And that think that could be the same thing with things like even the law of excluded middle. And this is just going to be an analogy, but the law of excluded middle, a statement is either true or it's false. If I wrote that on a piece of paper, any kind of proposition, and just wrote the words true or false. Let's say you wanted to change the word true to represent something. Let's say you want change the word true to tiger. Well, let's say you were trying to change the meaning. Well, if you were staying in the same category and just changing the word or label, and it did that, it would mean the same exact thing. And I think some people label the laws of logic strictly to human conventions and just say, well, everything is strictly intrinsic to the words that they are. But this wouldn't work because it would sound the same and it would pretty much point to the same exact thing. But each time, each repeated result you would do would always result in either true or false. And the reason I did this analogy is because science, and I know a lot of people who study science, especially I think in mainstream science, like maybe not necessarily actual scientists, but they will overemphasize that, okay, things in science can constantly change. So maybe, this theory could be right or it could be wrong. Well, that I think is true a little bit, but it's misleading because it's kind of a category fallacy. So, since theories are constructed by human beings, they could be wrong because might have errors in them, but then they might not. But they're also built more around presuppositions, so I think that there is more universal things in science like light, gravity, speed, space, reality, the universe, that all of these elements are not proven through theories. I don't think you prove that light exists in a theory. I think you prove certain types of presuppositions, like, there are extra presuppositions and more arguments on why, and maybe certain things could be wrong, but I don't think it's necessarily everything's going to be wrong, and that I don't think science can change as much as people think it can. Well, the view that science can change is also really bad because actually, in a philosophical sense, science is a lot more permanent, like the laws of nature, physics, etc. So I don't understand how science can change. Well, the view that science can change is also really bad because, well, there's a counter argument that you can give them. If they say, well, these scientific they might say that these scientific theories can constantly change. And I would ask them, well, does your scientific theory or just your interpretation of that have an error? And that argument may not work because, okay, maybe their theory does have an error in it. And even if it does have that, it may not necessarily damage their whole entire worldview. But that's why I need to go beyond just a scientific theory and more of something like just their broader claim. If they say anything in science can change, like, the presuppositions, the theories themselves, and not really, like, beyond human errors, those things can change. Then when I say, well, can your scientific theory change? It's not really their error being wrong. It's more of the fact that I'm asking them, can your interpretation just change without you being wrong? Can it just magically change, which is a little bit different. Like Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, I think his view could be wrong, maybe. Like, it's possible there's an error in there somewhere, very unlikely, but I don't think it's going to just change. Like, I think if you found an error in Albert Einstein's theory, then he was wrong, but did his theory change? His theory changed, but I'm talking about the truth of the theory. The truth of the theory never changed in a philosophical sense. If the truth of the theory was wrong, then it didn't have to change to begin with. So nothing was changed. It was only changed in the outline of his theory to mean, well, I mean, the knowledge of the theory was technically changed, but the theory itself was just wrong. So yeah, I guess that would be a better way to look at that. And I just want to make sure that the epistemology counter argument was a little bit more specific and better than just pointing out an error and saying, well, if they have an error in their approach, then we've defeated them with a counter argument, and then which wouldn't really be true because technically they are right. There was some aspect that changed, but I'm going over the aspect that didn't technically change. Just gotta wrap it up for today's video. I just wanted to give my perspective on the the main thing, which was, Einstein's view of time versus the ontological view on time, and answer some objections to the view on time and to science/philosophy and stuff. And I really appreciated you guys watching this video. If you could, please give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment below what you thought of the video. But yeah, it would be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe because I'm trying to grow this channel. It's my dream to be a YouTuber, and it has been ever since I was a little kid. I just didn't know what to post until I got into theology videos, then I got into abstract philosophy, and then I decided, well, I'm just gonna post more videos on these stuff. But I guess this is a kind of a physics video a little bit, which I'm new to, but then this is also more of a metaphysics video about physics. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and peace out, and I'll see you in the next video.